In the headlines of this hour on VTV News. State President holds talks with People's Court System. And fishers turn marine conservationists to protect coral reefs and sea environment. In our world news, G7 summit kicks off.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. VTV News starts right now.
Good afternoon. It is 3 p.m. local time and you're watching VTV News. I'm Huyền Trân with the top stories. A working session between State President Tô Lâm and all bodies in the People's Court System was held on Friday morning, with 700 joining online. The state president highly values the activities of the People's Court System, especially at the Monitoring and Operations Center. It is considered the digital brain of the court system and a breakthrough in realizing the parties' and states' policies on digital transformation and implementing judicial reform tasks. This is also important in fulfilling international commitments to switching to electronic-based court administration. On average, the number of cases going to court has increased by 8% annually. This year alone, the number of cases received has increased by nearly 40,000 compared to the same period last year, but only about 63% have been adjudicated. The rate of convictions and decisions annulled or amended due to subjective reasons is 0.82%, meeting the requirements of the National Assembly. The state leader believes that the quality of judicial officials is the deciding factor in the quality of prosecutions and the legal system. So he hopes the court system will continue building a team of officials with strong integrity to safeguard the country's law. The 12th session of the State Steering Committee for Key National Infrastructure Projects focusing on the transportation sector took place on Friday morning. Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính, the head of the steering committee, presided over the meeting. Now, after 11 sessions, 2 out of the 12 component projects of the North-South East Expressway Phase 2021 to 2025 and Tuyên Quang Phú Thọ have been deemed complete. It spans 674 kilometers and passes through 15 provinces and cities, increasing the total length of expressway to 2,001 kilometers. So far, ministries have been actively addressing issues related to ODA loan procedures for major projects, accelerating the relocation of high-voltage power lines, and continuing research to guide localities in determining the prices of construction materials mined under special mechanisms. Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính commended localities' efforts in effectively implementing land clearance work, promoting socio-economic development, and opening up new development land for localities, while also reducing transportation and logistics costs for the public and businesses. He also assigned a specific task to each locality to coordinate the implementation of procedures for exploiting raw material mines, ensuring an adequate supply volume and exploitation capacity to meet the progress of each project. Now, Ring Road number 4 is a key national project in the capital region of Hanoi. The link stretches 112.8 kilometers and passes through Hanoi, Hưng Yên, and Bắc Ninh provinces. Construction started a year ago and is expected to be operational in 2027. Up to this point, 98% of the land has been handed over to the project's management board, and 13 resettlement areas have been completed. However, localities still need to resolve some issues to ensure project progress.
Due to timely site clearance, reliable material supplies, and the use of private roads and paths, the construction of Ring Road number 4 in Hanoi's Mê Linh and Sóc Sơn districts has exceeded expectations. It is now expected to finish 18 months ahead of schedule.
In the initial plan, the road we were supposed to use to transport materials to the construction site was another one that was not as convenient. Thanks to the support of the Mê Linh District Party Committee, we have opened a new route, significantly speeding up progress. We aim to complete this section in December this year.
Although 98% of the land has been handed over to the contractors, the remaining 2% is mostly residential land. According to reports from the districts, the main problems are related to the resettlement conditions. In Ha Dong district, some households have rented houses and moved elsewhere and are thus not included in the resettlement policy. In Mê Linh and Thương Tín, the residential land people inherited from their parents was determined to be farmland. So even though they have lived there for a long time, they are not eligible for resettlement.
Ha Dong District People's Committee has acknowledged the difficulties in site clearance. It will soon have a solution to ensure people's well-being.
Parts of the inherited land are entitled to site clearance compensation. We will consider the limits and devise a plan to protect people's interests.
To solve site clearance obstacles, Hanoi Party Committee Secretary Đinh Tiến Dũng requested relevant agencies propose solutions to ensure people's rights. At the same time, he requested an examination of public service practices to avoid instances of responsibilities being deflected and project progress being affected.
Ho Chi Minh City's Urban Railway Company No. 1 and MasterCard have signed a cooperation agreement to introduce smart public transportation in the city. Both parties commit to implementing a payment acceptance solutions for the project. They are also studying the deployment of cashless payment services for the Urban Railway Line No. 1 from Bến Thành to Suối Tiên bus system. Its commercial operation is expected to commence in the fourth quarter. The two organizations will also explore solutions using citizen ID cards to replace transit cards for priority groups. This collaboration aims to enhance the quality of public transportation services, promote digital transformation, and advance Ho Chi Minh City towards a modern, intelligent, and convenient urban environment. The Ho Chi Minh City Department of Transport has unveiled a draft report outlining 3 potential waterway connections between the city and Long Thành Airport. The report is currently open for feedback from relevant stakeholders. However, according to experts, these options must be researched thoroughly to ensure feasibility.
The first option proposes using high-speed boats to transport passengers from Bạch Dằng Wharf in District 1 to Swan Bay Marina in Nhơn Trạch District, Đồng Nai Province. The second option suggests establishing a cross-river passenger wharf from Bình Khánh, Nhà Bè to Nhơn Trạch, Đồng Nai. This proposal involves constructing a new wharf on the Đồng Nai side and enhancing road infrastructure. The third option focuses on maximizing the capacity of the existing Cát Lái ferry. This proposal aims to provide a convenient transport solution, especially in the absence of the Cát Lái bridge. Experts believe that the first option is the most feasible.
Among these options, the route from Bạch Dằng Wharf has the most stable number of passengers despite its longer distance. Tours are also established along the route.
Experts also say that opening these transportation routes requires careful planning to ensure synchronous infrastructure development.
Services must be established along the route, especially at the 2 points in Ho Chi Minh City and Đồng Nai. We will have a good opportunity to explore waterways transport while waiting to develop railways and highways.
Long Thành International Airport extends to 5,000 hectares with an expected investment of more than $13 billion. In Phase 1, upon commencement of operations in 2026, Long Thành International Airport will have the capacity to handle 25 million passengers at 1.2 million tons of cargo annually. Currently, relevant parties are reviewing the current infrastructure to develop a feasible connectivity plan.
Vietnam's export growth over the past 5 months has surpassed expectations, as revealed in HSBC's May Economic Update report. Specifically, export value has risen by 13.9% as of mid-June, surpassing both market expectations and a previous forecast from HSBC and Bloomberg. The dominance of consumer electronics persists, contributing to 60% of this growth. The report underscores the improved electronics cycle that bolsters Vietnam's export expansion. May marked Vietnam's strongest export growth compared to the same period over the past 3 years. Positive indicators in key markets are anticipated to further fortify Vietnam's growth trajectory in the coming months. The State Bank of Vietnam recently requested gold bullion trading outlets and intermediary payment organizations review suspicious transactions and submit risk assessment reports on money laundering before July 15th this year. This action aims to tighten the enforcement of anti-money laundering regulations. Vendors must report large value transactions, suspicious transactions, and all information and documents related to the transactions. Gold is widely accepted worldwide and thus is susceptible to being used by criminals to conceal sources of illegal money. Now, before we move on to other important updates, let's take a look at the foreign exchange rate of today, June 14th. Coming up next on VTV News. Fishers turn marine conservationists to protect coral reefs and sea environment. And former general builds 1,000 homes for his comrades. Welcome back to VTV News. Now, the rainy season is only beginning. However, many provinces and cities in the Mekong Delta, including Long An province, have begun to experience landslides and subsidence. A section of the dike along the Vam Co Tây River in Ngãi Trị Commune, Châu Thành District, Long An province, has collapsed into the river. Landslides have become increasingly worrying and putting lives at risk.
Previously, this section of dike suffered 3 landslides that extended over a 50-meter length. Although the dike has been reinforced, landslides have continued, causing a 14-meter section, half the dike's length, to collapse into the river and encroach onto the roadway by up to 7 meters. At another location nearby, numerous cracks 20 to 30 centimeter wide have opened up along a 40-meter stretch.
The dike previously only had small cracks, but overnight, it collapsed. This landslide-prone dike needs government support and help for locals to get around again.
The Châu Thành District authorities has surveyed the landslide-affected area and recommend urgent action to ensure the safety of 30 households and the area's traffic infrastructure.
Firstly, the district has directed the locality to fence off the area to ensure the safety of locals. We also urgently reported to the Departments of Agriculture and Rural Development to propose immediate solution.
We also proposed that this landslide situation should be included in the province's annual Natural Disaster Prevention Fund so that it will be handled more urgently, effectively, and promptly for people in this area.
In the first half of 2024, Long An recorded 5 landslides in Tân Thạnh, Thủ Thừa, Cần Duộc, Cần Đước. Of these, 2 were deemed dangerous landslides that greatly affected the traffic infrastructure and threatened people's lives and property. Therefore, solutions to limit and overcome landslides sustainably are a major and urgent issue.
Now, since February, the drought situation in the Central Highlands has been extremely severe. In Dak Nong, thousands of hectares of crops lack water and hundreds of households face economic losses. To address this issue, provincial authorities have quickly implemented measures, including helping people access policy loans to overcome difficulties and maintain production.
Amid prolonged drought, Ibin's pond had dried up. He was worried because the harvest season of his coffee crop is approaching. Thanks to a loan of more than $3,000 from the Bank for Social Policies, he was able to enhance irrigation in time. His family's coffee crop has overcome the drought and grown well.
The loan from the Policy Bank helped me buy fertilizers and upgrade the electricity and irrigation systems. After a while, my coffee crop has been better.
Herdun's family was able to quickly access $2,400 in policy loans to invest in drilling wells and buying fertilizers and pesticides to restore the family's 2-hectare coffee crop affected by drought.
Thanks to the loan, I bought pesticides and fertilizers to restore my coffee crop.
The drought has affected about 10,000 hectares of crops in Dak Nong province. To help farmers access capital to overcome the consequences of drought, the Dak Nong Provincial Bank for Social Policies has promptly disbursed more than $7.8 million to help more than 4,000 households overcome difficulties and restore production.
Most borrowers use this source of capital to purchase machinery, dredge ponds, and promptly overcome the consequences of drought. The results have proven the effectiveness of this capital source.
Currently, Dak Nong province has deployed many synchronous solutions to deal with drought and ensure resources for people to urgently overcome challenges and adapt to increasingly severe climate change.
In Cù Lao Chàm, a UNESCO-recognized World Biosphere Reserve, some volunteers are from the local fishing fleet. From people versed only in fishing, they have become marine conservation volunteers trained in diving, transplanting hard corals, and cleaning up trash on the seabed. During the Week of Islands and Environment, let's meet these local marine environmental conservationists.
As one of the 4 fishermen who the Cù Lao Chàm Marine Park trained on coral conservation, Chen Ming-si diligently works to protect the sea and islands every day at depths of 7 to 18 meters.
The marine protected area sent me to study diving. I can dive 18 meters deep and participate in the reserve's conservation work.
Some fishermen understand this whole reef area. They can show us where the branch or slab corals are and check to see if a suitable environment exists for them. They know a lot about Cù Lao Chàm corals, including their depth, impact factors, and how they live. That is very valuable local knowledge.
I volunteered to work to restore the coral reefs and to preserve the fish populations.
Although the process is developed by scientists, the community is a decisive factor in conservation work. When the community participates in conservation, they see how precious each branch of coral is and the time and efforts it takes to restore coral reefs.
Not only do they understand coral well, but these fishermen have also mastered seeding and transplanting hard coral. They also take turns cleaning up the trash on seabed and catching coral-eating starfish to restore coral reef habitats.
Twice a month, I clean up the seabed. Garbage is washed ashore and gathered by the rocks. I have to clean thoroughly and pick up the shattered bottles and jars. That's why the seabed is quite clean now. There are only corals, rocks, and fish.
I protect the coral reefs so that younger generation can still benefit from them.
Thanks to efforts from the community and researchers, the marine protected area has restored over 1.5 hectares of coral reefs since 2015.
Recently, airlines have significantly boosted the number of night flights to increase supply capacity and relieve heat from surging ticket prices. However, the passenger volume has not yet met expectations. Vietnam Airlines had to cancel around 10% of night flights in the past month due to a lack of passengers during these hours. Potential causes for such low volume are suspected to be the inconvenience of traveling during late-night hours and additional accommodation costs when arriving at tourist destinations. Airlines suggest that travel businesses focus on discounts for the first night and support for passengers on night flights. The San Francisco Board of Supervisors has voted unanimously to formally declare Vietnamese as an official city language that requires the authorities' provision of translation services. The recent amendment of the ordinance enacted in 2001 allows the inclusion of Vietnamese to the list previously consisting of only Chinese, Spanish, and Filipino. A total of nearly 6,800 San Francisco residents identify as primarily Vietnamese speakers, according to the city's language data dashboard. The city now has to provide telephonic interpretation, website text, written notices, and other official services in Vietnamese. The The qualities of Uncle Ho's soldiers are not only shown by soldiers during wartime, but also in peacetime, as illustrated by a former general who cherished the dream of building houses for his comrades. Major General Lê Thanh Sơn, also known as Ba Ngay, was a former commander of the Theo Battalion during the war against the U.S. and the war to protect the southwest border. Although retired, he still travels and mobilizes donations for more than 1,000 homes for his comrades in difficult circumstances.
Lê Thanh Sơn is paying a visit to Út Gương, an old comrade from decades ago. He has secured resources to build a house for his comrade from long ago.
At that time, my house was flooded, so I planned to live in the nursing home. Thanks to his support, I finally have a home of my own to live in now.
60 years ago, the Theo Battalion was raised to fight the enemy until the last breath. During 11 years of fighting, the battalion and Major General Lê Thanh Sơn fought in more than 200 battles.
Lê Thanh Sơn cherished his comrades and said he would support me with a house.
In 2003, Major General Lê Thanh Sơn established the Theo Battalion Veteran Liaison Committee. As a result, more than 1,000 houses for comrades were built.
These comrades did not lose their homes, but we want to support them with a home so that their families can better connect with the local authority and participate in the locality's work. This also helps to preserve Uncle Ho's soldiers' good qualities.
Major General Lê Thanh Sơn always cherished the dream of building better homes for his comrades, not just fighting side by side to gain independence and freedom for the nation, but now Sơn is standing with his comrades to share difficulties in civilian life.
Coming up next in our world news, G7 summit kicks off. And Russia launches electronic missiles in tactical nuclear exercises. Now moving on to our world news, the Group of Seven or G7 summit kicked off on Thursday in Borgo Egnazia, southern Italy. In her opening speech, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni affirmed that the conference will conduct discussions that will bring concrete and meaningful results. Taking place over 3 days, the agenda of the conference includes 6 sessions on African development and climate change, the situation in the Middle East, the conflict in Ukraine, migration, the Indo-Pacific region, and a special session focusing on artificial intelligence and energy. On the sidelines of the G7 summit, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky signed a 10-year security agreement with the United States and Japan. This agreement will allow Washington and Tokyo to provide Kiev with more aid, military training, and technical cooperation. Russia has begun the second stage of its non-strategic nuclear exercises, practicing the deployment of tactical nuclear weapons together with the Belarusian military. The Russian Defense Ministry said that the country's military conducted electronic missile launches as part of the exercise, with the participation of soldiers and sailors from Russia's northern Leningrad military district, which borders NATO member states. Tactical nuclear weapons, also known as non-strategic nuclear weapons, are designed to be used on the battlefield, as opposed to strategic weapons that have a long-range cross-border strike range and great destructive power. Earlier, the first stage of the drills involving Iskander and Kinzhal ballistic missiles and missile forces took place in Russia's southern military district, which borders Ukraine. Japan's self-defense force has joined the biannual U.S. military exercise Valiant Shield 2024 in the Indo-Pacific region for the first time. The large-scale exercise occurs over a vast area stretching from the waters off the U.S. island of Guam to Japan. 2 Japanese air bases in Aomori and Miyagi prefectures are being used to base U.S. reconnaissance aircrafts and F-16 fighter jets participating in the exercise. The exercise involves troops from various military forces and the U.S. Marine Corps. The Japanese Ministry of Defense said the exercise aims to prepare for unexpected military situations in areas surrounding Japan. In a remote school in Hanyang District, Hunan Province, China, there is a special 8-strong primary school rock band. This band is receiving great attention from the local community because the school principal and a volunteer aroused their pupils' passion for music. More in the following.
Nestled in the mountains, Miaoxi Primary School in Hanyang District has many students living with their grandparents while their parents work far from home. Some are very shy and afraid to appear in crowded places. Therefore, the school's principal has started to look for volunteers with music knowledge to build the children's confidence. Wen Jin, the owner of a musical instrument store, has been driving more than 16 kilometers once a week, carrying an organ and an electric guitar to deliver free music lessons.
I feel happy and joyful whenever I visit the school to teach music. Being with them helps me to release all the pressure of life in the city.
To ensure the children can practice well before each performance, Wen Qian also visits the school twice a week, despite being very busy with business.
Before joining the band, I often feel bored and shy. Now I feel happier and more active when playing music. I hope to become a music teacher.
Thanks to the dedication of the teachers and Wen Jin, the children in the Miaoxi Primary School rock band have found their passion for music and increased their confidence. This is a testament that education in remote areas can create miracles, contributing to nurturing musical talents.
Now let's move on to the weather forecast. And that's all the news we have for this hour. To rewatch our program, you can download our mobile app VTVgo or check out our YouTube channel VTV4Go. Thank you for watching and see you next time.